In today's class, we are going to learn about the methods of calculating GDP and the sectors of Indian economy. But before going into that, let us quickly recall what we learned in the previous classes about GDP. So the GDP, the components of GDP or GDP is equal to consumption spending by households, investment spending by businesses and households, government purchases of goods and services, and the net exports or net foreign demand. That is the value of exports minus imports. Gross domestic product. It is produced in the country. It is concerned about that it takes into consideration the value of goods and services produced within the geographical territories of a country. GDP of India includes only the market value of goods and services produced in India. For example, the market value of apples produced in Kashmir are included in our GDP since Kashmir is in India. Whereas the market value of apples produced in California, even if they are sold in Indian markets, they are not included in our GDP because they are not produced within the geographical boundaries of India, but they are produced in America. And they should be produced during a time period. And the GDP of a country measures the market value of goods and services produced only during a specific time period. The goods and services produced in earlier periods are not included. In India, the GDP is measured both annually and quarterly. The annual GDP is for a financial year, which is from April 1st to March 31st. The modern concept of GDP was first developed by Simon Kuznets for a US Congress report in 1934. Simon Smith Kuznets was an American economist and statistician who received the 1971 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences. He says the welfare of a nation can scarcely be inferred from a measure of national income. Now let us see the three methods of calculating gross domestic product. What is gross domestic product? It has three approaches: expenditure approach, income approach, and value added approach. Expenditure approach. The first way to calculate GDP is to add up all the money spent on final goods and services. Spending is divided into four categories. Consumption, consumer spending on final goods and services is the largest category. Then investment. This describes the fact that firms also spend money on final products. It does not mean financial investment. Then government. The government also spends money on final goods. So the expenditure of the government and net export. In expenditure approach, GDP is equal to consumption plus investment plus government spending plus net exports. In this method, the GDP is measured by adding the expenditure on all the final goods and services produced in the country during a specific period. So here GDP is equal to C consumption plus I investment plus G government expenditure plus net exports. How to calculate GDP income approach? This method looks at GDP from the perspective of the earnings of the men and women who are involved in producing the goods and services. The income approach to measuring GDP Y is here. Y is equal to wages plus rent plus interest plus profit. So the next way to calculate GDP is by the income approach. It is to add up all the income received by firms from the sale of final goods and services. Wages, some of the money earned by firms gets paid to workers as wages. The workers are remunerated in the form of wages. Interest, the money earned by firms must get paid to the people who have lent the firm money. Rent, some of the money must be paid to the land used for production. Then profit. Once wages, interest and rent have been paid, all of the remaining income is considered profit. The next one is value added approach. And before that, I will explain this expenditure approach and income approach in a simple way. Just for an example, take a house. In a house, there are father and mother who are earning around 40,000 per month. And every month, they spend the expenditures on milk, electricity, vegetable, for buying grocery, etc. Isn't it? So the amount they spend on milk is the income for the milkman. The amount they spend for vegetables is the expenditure for that particular family, but it is the income for that particular vegetable vendor. The amount they spend for the grocery is the expenditure for them, but it is the income for the grocery owner, shop owner. So if you add the expenditure of this particular family, that results in the income of other people, right? So either the income of the two father and mother can be added, that is income approach. Otherwise, you can add the expenses made by the family, which is the income of other people. That is shown in a large scale in GDP, expenditure and income approach. Next, calculating GDP using the value added approach. Value of intermediate goods is equal to value of final goods. See, for example, this is tea. And the ingredients for making tea is tea powder, milk and sugar. So when you add the value of tea powder, milk and sugar, which are all the intermediate goods, naturally you will get the value of the tea. So that is called as value added approach. And GDP value added approach. Here is a simple example to understand the value added approach. The economists count only each producer's value added amount. Let us take an example. A wheat farmer grows a bushel of wheat that costs ₹1. So the cost of this wheat bushel is just ₹1, and there is no any intermediate good. It is not its value is not added by adding anything. So it is just ₹1. Then what happens? A miller, he buys the wheat for ₹1 from this wheat farmer, and he turns this wheat bushel into wheat flour. And for turning it into the flour, he incurs the cost of ₹2. So actually he is buying it for ₹1. So and spending ₹2. 2 minus 1 is equal to 1 rupee. And then what happens? A baker, he buys the flour from the miller for ₹2, and he is turning it into bread which costs ₹5. So the cost of the bread is 5. The expenses he incurred for making the bread is 5. But this 5 rupees includes the value of the flour which he bought for ₹2. So that 2 rupees should be deducted from this 5 rupees. So here the value he added is only ₹3. And finally, a grocer buys the bread for ₹5 from the baker, and he is selling it to consumer for ₹9. So he is selling it for ₹9, but this 9 rupees includes the value of ₹5 added by the baker. So that 5 rupees should be subtracted from 9. So now the value of good is here is only ₹4. So what is the final amount? All the final value of the intermediate goods, 1 rupee, the cost of wheat bushel, and 1 rupee, the miller's expenses for turning it into flour, and 3 rupees for the bread, and then the grocery shop owner selling it to the consumer for ₹4. So this is the 4 plus 3, 7 plus 1, 8 plus 1, 9. But the total, if you add the total 9 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1, it results in ₹17, but it is not GDP. GDP is only value added, which is ₹9. So this is the value of the things added for making the bread. So this is called as value added approach. Now let us see about the importance of GDP. When you hear an economist or news reporter talking about the size of an economy, they are most likely referring to gross domestic product or GDP. GDP is one of the most important statistics in economics. Measuring GDP tells us an enormous amount about how a nation is doing. If the GDP is rising, it signifies that incomes are rising and consumers are purchasing more. All of this means a stronger economy. GDP is used by economists to determine the health of the economy and whether a country is growing, as well as measuring the effects of inflation and deflation. So overall we can say that it helps in the study of economic growth. It analyzes the problems of inflation and deflation, and it can use to compare a country's status with the developed countries of the world. It estimates the purchasing power of the people. It helps to study the public sector, and it guides to formulate the economic policies and economic planning. Now, what are the limitations of GDP? GDP only includes market transactions. Several important goods and services are left out of the GDP. The GDP includes only the goods and services sold in the market. The services provided by parents to their children is very important, is very valuable, but it is not included in GDP because it is not sold in the market. Likewise, clean air, our clean environment, pollution-free environment, which is vital for a healthy life, has no market value and is left out of the GDP. It does not account for domestic or voluntary work, even though these activities have a considerable positive impact on social welfare. And these works, babysitting, volunteer work, and gardening, trading getting the legal advice from the experts, and the work done by the women in the houses like housekeeping, taking care of the children, educating the children, taking care of the pets, cleaning, mopping, everything. These services are not at all taken into account by the GDP. GDP measures only the quantity, how much produced, what is the value of the goods and services, and what is the quantity of the goods and services produced is taken into account by GDP. It does not consider the quality of the goods and services produced, which is one of the major limitations of GDP. GDP does not tell us about the way income is distributed in the country. The GDP of a country may be growing rapidly, but income may be distributed so unequally. For example, when the top 10% of the households earn 80% of the total income in a country, there is a high degree of income inequality. GDP does not account for income distribution in any way. Just take this example. These are all the people who contribute to the GDP of a particular country. But here, if you add both this amount and this amount, you will get a particular amount, which does not show by how much each people contributes. Here, these two people have contributed more, and these 8 people have contributed only much less than these 2 people. So here, there is inequality of income contribution, and GDP does not tell us about this. The GDP does not tell us about the kind of life people are living. A high level of per capita real GDP can go hand in hand with very low health condition of people, an undemocratic political system, high pollution and suicidal rate. And these things are not considered by the GDP. So the happiness of the people is not measured by the GDP. And we'll be seeing about this gross national happiness, which is considered as one of the very important criteria in Bhutan. We will say it in the later part of this lesson. Estimation of GDP. The Central Statistical Organization under the Ministry of Statistical Department keeps the records. It processes involve conducting an annual survey of industries and compilation of various indexes like the Index of Industrial Production, Consumer Price Index, etc. And composition of gross domestic product. The sectors of Indian economy. Indian economy consists of primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. Primary sector is also called as agricultural sector. Agricultural sector is known as primary sector in which agricultural operations are undertaken. And these are all the examples of primary sector. Agriculture, crops and livestock comes under agriculture, fishing, forestry, mineral extraction, mining, even lumbering, any activities that is related to the agriculture and that is directly involved with nature comes under the primary sector. And this sector provides the raw materials for the manufacturing sector. Secondary sector. The economic activities which are related to the manufacturing processes are called as secondary sector. They involve in the conversion of raw materials into the finished goods. Industrial sector is secondary sectors in which the goods and commodities are produced by transforming the raw materials. Important industries are iron and steel industry, cotton textile, jute, sugar, cement, paper, petrochemical, automobile, and other small scale industries. What is the secondary sector involved in? They are involved in using raw materials and other resources for the manufacturing of products. An example, construction firms, pharmaceutical companies, clothes manufacturers, publishing firms, electronic manufacturers, and energy production companies, etc. The output is then sold to the customers or consumers. Tertiary sector is otherwise known as service sector. The activities that help in the development of primary and secondary sector. All the transport and communication comes under tertiary sector. This sector generates services rather than goods. Therefore, this sector is also called as service sector. It includes the government, scientific research, transport, communication, trade, postal and telegraph, banking, education, entertainment, healthcare, and information technology, etc. So this is the three sectors of economy: primary, secondary, and tertiary sector. In the 20th century, the economists began to suggest that the tertiary services could be further distinguished as quaternary industries and quinary industries. And the quaternary industries, the service industries concerned with the collection, processing, and manipulation of information and capital, finance, administration, insurance, and legal services. Whereas the quinary industries are the part of the service sector that requires a high level of specialized knowledge or technical skill, scientific research, high-level management. To say clearly, all the decision-making authorities like Vice Chancellor of a university, judge, the Dean of a medical college, and all these people, they come under the quinary industries. The bank staff, the officer, manager, university lecturers, doctors, all these people, they come under the quaternary industries. The people at the very high level, they are at the decision-making level, they all come under the quinary industries. Let us see about the economic growth and development in the next class.